Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala khatimil anbiya. Surah Al-Fatiha is a short surah but is full of meaning. And the more we go in depth, the more we discover new dimensions. Third sentence of surah begins with Malike Yawmuddin. Three simple words: Malik, Yawm, Ad-Din. In Arabic, Malik refers to usually one who is owner, one who is lord, one who has full command, one who rules. And therefore, in the Quran, the word has been used in different places. Around 3 places where it is used in the sense of Malik. Therefore, in Surah Zukhruf, the Quran says, Malikul Mulk. You are the owner of all authority and estate and all territories. You give authority to one you like or withdraw from one you like, and so on and so forth. Here in Surah Al-Fatiha, it is used in terms of the owner of the day of judgment. Second word, Yawm, simply means day. Yawmul Badr, Yawmul Jum'ah, Yawmul Qiyamah. And similarly, the third word, Ad-Din, has different meaning. One meaning is what is said here, Malik Yawmuddin, and that means the day of judgment. But it also refers to the law of land. Therefore, in Surah Yusuf, we find a reference to Dinul Malik, the law of land of the country. Similarly, we find that this word is also used in terms of reward or jaza. So, Yawmul Jaza and Yawmuddin are one and same in our Islamic terminology. It also refers to Sharia. Therefore, Islam has been called as Deen, which comprises of not only ibadat, ritual ceremonies, but is also a matter of implementation of law. Therefore, in Surah An-Nur, the Quran says, if someone has done immorality, give the prescribed punishment of the Quran. In doing that, you should not feel shy in deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means implementation of law is deen. And same elsewhere is said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made shara'i and adyan for different people in different times. So deen also refers to sharia or law. Here in this third sentence or third ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha, Malik Yawmuddin, the basic emphasis is on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is owner of the whole universe, is also going to be the judge. Therefore, the word deen here refers to not only Yawmul Jaza, but also the judge, the one who is going to make final judgment. The sense that is conveyed is very simple. The word deen is also used in the Quran in terms of judgment and making decision. In normal Arabic, Dayyan, the word used is particularly for a judge who makes judgment, or a Qadi, he is known as Dayyan. So here also Malik Yawmuddin refers to the one who is going to judge on the day of judgment and make final decision about fate and future of humankind. The emphasis in these three simple words and in this one single ayah is essentially on the ethicality of human beings. Therefore, when the Quran says Malik Yawmuddin, then it is referring to a day which is a logical necessity. Human beings in this world are given a lease, a time during which they are expected to make ethical judgment. A person who is enjoying a very high position, Minister of Finance, Minister of Defense, encounters a situation where he has to sign an agreement with a foreign country, and the conditions are that if he will sign it, then the other country is going to give him some benefits personally and no one will know about it. At this point, he has to make an ethical judgment. Should he accept signing of a contract which will bring him some personal benefits and no one will know about it, or he should reject all that and go for the national interest and sign or may not sign the document? This ethical judgment is what matters in Islam. If a person has made a judgment suppressing his conscience, accepted a bribe and made a decision which no one knows about, people think he is a very fair person, but ultimately it has harmed not only his own inner self but also society, but no one knows about it. On the other hand, a person who is extremely honest and fair, who makes every judgment based on merit, who is always concerned about what is haq or right, this person is known as very strict, very rough, does not care for anyone, while other one is known as a very socializable person, a humble person, a polite person. No one knows the real face. Logic and reason demands that there should be a situation where these two persons are judged based on their ethical behavior. A person in his family life is extremely corrupt. He never takes care of his children, nor his wife, nor his parents, nor his uncles and cousins, nor his neighbors. But as a political leader, he is very popular, he talks beautiful language, he has an appearance which people like very much, a very domineering personality. What should be the final judgment of the person? Should his public life be the basis of everything to be decided about him, or there should be a fair judgment which should take into consideration what has he done for the welfare of people and what has he done for deprivation of his own family members, and based on that a final station of the person is decided. Should this person go to a permanent life in al-akhirah of pleasure, enjoyment, or should go through any kind of punishment or go to hell? Now, who should decide it? Is it a matter of one's own self? Can anyone decide for himself with all bunglings and cheating and all kind of black dealings? One thinks, I will go to Jannah. Or on the other hand, a person who has been thinking he is very pious, very good, observing his prayers, doing good to people, assumes, since I have done all these, I must go to Jannah. Who should decide? Reason demands that all these subjective feelings where myself or my family or my friends may think I am a good person, must go to Jannah, are still subjective feelings based on limited experience, limited knowledge about myself. Maybe they know hardly 1/10 or 1/50th of my personality, which is above the water surface, and what is sink in water, submerged in water, is never known to them. And based on that, they are saying, I'm a good person. Therefore, reason demands that to be fair, to be honest, to be impartial, there has to be a judgment of human beings. And therefore, the Quran says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that owner, that Malik, that Lord who on the day of judgment will decide based on his enormous knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is visible, what is hidden, what's taken place in the past, what will take place in the future. He has full grasp and grip over all possible knowledge, and therefore he alone can be the owner of day of judgment. Therefore, in this very brief and short ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha, the statement says, owner of the day of judgment, Malik Yawmiddin, which means, first, day of judgment is inevitable. It's logical necessity. It's rational necessity. And on that day, no human being, no intercession, no favor, no recommendation, no one's influence should work except the one who is the most just and fair being in the universe, the one who has created mankind and who is full of blessing and rahmah for them. We earlier discussed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He made all these universes out of His compassion, He hardly applied 1/100 of His compassion. Hadith says, rest of it He has preserved for day of judgment, when He will find His own servants in difficulty, in tests and trial and problems, then He may use that to forgive them. Does not mean that since He is kind, forgiving, blissful, always kind to His creation, then those who live in this world assume, does not matter, let's do whatever we want, exploit rights of people, usurp rights of people, do whatever you want, and ultimately, since you carry a beautiful name, therefore Allah will like your name and forgive you. That is again an irrational approach, illogical approach, fool's paradise. Quran wants us to live in real world and to act based on ethical principles given by the Quran and Sunnah. And therefore, the very statement Malik Yawmiddin reminds us that there is going to be a final judgment in which basis will not be whether you are white or black, not whether you are rich or poor, not whether you are tall or short, but the basis will be how ethically one has acted in this world. And since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows and has kept a record of everything we do, therefore a fair trial, a fair judgment will be done, and those who may have suffered in this world because of their truthfulness, and those who may have enjoyed their life in this world because of crookedness will not be treated same. They must be evaluated and judged based on highest levels of objectivity. Therefore, the ayah says, Malike Yawmuddin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to be unfair, even like that of an atom of good or bad will not be disregarded. The Quran elsewhere says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to weigh every act of human beings, even when an iota of truth and good is done, and even when an iota of wrong is done. He knows exactly, because He has the most sensitive measures and ways of knowing. Therefore, the ayah reminds us in every prayer 5 times a day, how should we act? The persuasion, the motivation is given to every believer. Not only that, but even those who may not be believing Muslims, but who just read this short chapter of the Quran, who may go online and find out what is the first surah of the Quran, and they read it with open mind, with fairness, they will find it has great meaning for them. It means one may not be Muslim, but one has to be ethically committed. One should behave in manner So in ultimate judgment, one is not loser. This short ayah reminds us how to win, how to succeed, how to become a resident of Jannah, a permanent resident of Jannah, by remembering all the time that we have to be accounted for, we are going to be judged one day, and therefore the short span of life we have in this world is to be spent with responsibility, accountability, and a direction in life that we want to succeed ultimately in life hereafter. This short-lived life may be of 30 years, 40 years, 70 years, 90 years, even 100 years is very short as compared to the permanent life in the life hereafter. The success and one's achievement is measured in terms of how a person is going to be placed in life hereafter. Therefore, whatever span of life we are given is to be spent in excelling in ethical deeds, in doing good to people, in observing ethical standards in our personal, political, economic, social life, in order that we are not ashamed in the day of judgment, in order Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recognizes it and says, this servant of mine was rebellious to everyone but my servant and obedient to me. The rebellion to all others is something positive. In the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be able to pronounce publicly that this servant of mine was serving me at the cost of annoying many people. Therefore, if in this world we find situations where some people don't feel happy and pleased with our behavior, when we are speaking truth, when we stand for justice, does not matter. What matters is in the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be able to judge us favorably based on our ethical standing. Consequently, this very short ayah tells us that this world is the world where we have to be very active, proactive, creative, but always doing things which are ethically acceptable and commendable, and avoid all those things which are ethically not good. So, in the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may place us among those who are successful, who are winners, who are recognized for the sacrifices in this world, and who are given the ultimate bliss and ultimate favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who act responsibly in this world in order to succeed in life hereafter. Wa khadam rabbil alameen.